I want to start today with a quote that, honestly, it kind of stopped me in my tracks when I was going through our stack for this week.
Oh, yeah.
It's from the legendary soprano Jessie Norman. She said, "The great struggle of life is finding a balance between what people need from you and what you need for yourself."
Wow. That hits hard right out of the gate.
It really does.
Mhm.
Because if that doesn't sum up the exact tension we all feel every single morning when the alarm goes off, I don't know what does.
It's that immediate split.
Yes. You wake up, and on one side you have the emails, the kids, the boss, all the obligations.
What people need from you.
Exactly. And on the other side, usually getting crushed by all that weight, is your own soul. Your need for rest, for creativity, or just for 5 minutes of silence to drink your coffee.
It's a tug of war. And we usually try to fix it externally.
We do. And look, I'm definitely guilty of this. We think, okay, I just need a better calendar app, or I need a raise. If I just get enough status or enough money, then I can finally relax and find that balance.
Right. That's the default setting for almost everyone. We look for external solutions to what is, fundamentally an internal problem. But the sources we have for today's deep dive, they suggest a really radical shift. They argue that true balance isn't about scheduling, it's about something called internal mastery.
Internal mastery. I love that. It sounds almost like a superpower.
In a way, it is. It's like a martial art for the mind.
Well, to help us unpack this, we have a stack of sources today that is, frankly, kind of wild. We're looking at wisdom from Roman emperors like Marcus Aurelius, modern football coaches like Tony Dungy, ancient Stoics, and even authors like Joseph Heller and Ryan Holiday.
It's a really diverse group, but what's fascinating is that they are all pointing at the exact same thing.
So the mission for this deep dive is what? To debunk that illusion that the answer is out there somewhere.
Exactly. We're going to look at how discipline, cooperation, and eventually love form a practical toolkit for living a balanced life.
Okay, so let's jump right into this illusion of external solutions. Because there's this story in our notes about the author Joseph Heller. He wrote Catch-22, and I think this anecdote just perfectly illustrates the trap we all fall into.
It really does. So the story goes that Joseph Heller was at a party thrown by a billionaire on Shelter Island.
So not just a backyard BBQ.
No. A lavish, high society event, and Kurt Vonnegut, another famous author, was there with him. And Vonnegut, decides to needle Heller a little bit.
As good friends do.
Exactly. Vonnegut points out that their host, this billionaire hedge fund manager, had made more money in a single day than Heller's novel Catch-22 had earned in its entire history.
Wow. Which is a staggering amount of money considering Catch-22 is a global classic. That comparison has got to sting a little, right?
You would think so. Vonnegut asks him, how does that make you feel? He's basically implying, doesn't it make you feel small? Or, unsuccessful?
And what did Heller say?
His response is just. It's the anchor for our whole discussion today. He said, I've got something he can never have. The knowledge that I've got enough.
The knowledge that I've got enough. That is such a power move.
It is. But it's more than just a witty comeback. It's a profound psychological stance. If you look at the analysis from our sources, specifically referencing Molly Bloom.
Oh, from the high-stakes poker world.
Right. She talks about seeing these billionaires and celebrities up close. And she realized they were stuck on what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill.
Okay, let's unpack that term, the hedonic treadmill. It comes up a lot, but I want to make sure we really get it.
Sure. So hedonic just refers to pleasure. The treadmill is a visual of running but staying in place. It means that as you get more money, a bigger house, a faster car, your baseline for happiness just resets.
So your expectations rise along with your success.
They rise in tandem. The thrill of the new car lasts, a month?
If you're lucky. Then it just becomes your car.
It's normal. And you need the next thing to get that same dopamine hit. You run and run, chasing satisfaction, but because the goalpost keeps moving, you never actually arrive. You never feel rich because you never defined what enough looks like.
So Heller, standing in this guy's mansion, was actually the richer man.
Precisely. Because his sense of worth was internal. He defined his own finish line. And this connects directly to Marcus Aurelius. Here's a guy who was the emperor of Rome.
The most powerful man on earth at the time.
Unlimited power, unlimited wealth. If anyone could have solved their anxiety with external resources, it was him.
But he couldn't.
No. In his private journals, which we now know as meditations, he writes all about his own anxiety, his frustration with people, his fatigue, and he realized that the stress wasn't coming from the wars or the politics.
Where was it coming from?
It was coming from within him. It was his judgment of the events, not the events themselves.
That's such a crucial distinction. So it's not the traffic that makes you angry. It's your opinion that the traffic shouldn't be there.
That's it. That is the internal locus of control. It's the realization that external things are not the problem, and they aren't the solution. Our internal emotional response is the only thing we can actually control.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting and honestly pretty difficult. Knowing that is one thing. Doing it is something else. There's a Spanish proverb in the text, del dicho al hecho hay gran trecho,
From words to deeds is a long way.
which is just a poetic way of saying, talk is cheap. It's easy to say, I have enough, when you're comfortable, but when you're tempted or stressed, it's hard to maintain that. So let's talk about how we actually practice this. And for that, the sources bring up a guy named Cato.
Cato is a fascinating figure in Stoicism, a Roman senator known for his rigid, almost superhuman moral character.
He was the guy nobody invites to the fun parties because he ruins the vibe.
Totally. And the story goes that some corrupt Roman politicians wanted to get rid of him. So they came up with this plan. They sent him to govern Cyprus.
Which sounds like a nice vacation, honestly.
Well, that was the trap. Cyprus at the time was a hotbed of colonial excess wealth corruption. They literally said they hoped he would come back tame or more agreeable. They wanted him to get Caesarified.
Caesarified. I love that. Like softened by luxury.
Exactly. They wanted him to get a taste of the high life. But here's the kicker. Cato went, did the job with absolute integrity, and returned completely unchanged. He refused to let the environment dictate his character.
That is next level discipline. But for us, who aren't Roman senators, how do we actually do that? How do we resist temptation?
The philosopher Epictetus offers a very specific practical technique here. He says, when you are faced with a temptation, losing your temper, eating something you shouldn't, you need to pause.
The power of the pause.
Right. But don't just pause and stare at the donut. He says to visualize two futures. First, visualize the momentary pleasure you'll get if you give in.
Okay, that's the easy part.
But then, immediately, and this is the step we usually skip, visualize the regret and self-loathing that comes afterward. Picture how you will feel 20 minutes later. The stomach ache, the guilt.
Oh, the reality check.
Exactly. And Epictetus says to compare that future regret with the feeling of satisfaction you would get from conquering the urge. Which one feels better in the long run?
This reminds me of the cheat day concept in dieting. I have definitely fallen for this trap. You eat clean all week, and you tell yourself, Saturday is my cheat day. I can have whatever I want.
It sounds like freedom, doesn't it? A reward.
It sounds great until Sunday morning when you feel like garbage and wonder why you did that.
And that's the point Ryan Holiday makes. He argues the cheat day is a flawed concept because it implies that discipline is a punishment and indulgence is the reward. It frames your healthy life as a prison you need to escape from.
That's a huge insight. So we're looking at it backwards.
Yes. The insight here is that self-control isn't about deprivation. When you really understand the consequences, using that Epictetus visualization self-control becomes the real pleasure. You are choosing the satisfaction of feeling good over the hangover of indulgence.
So you're not saying, I can't have this. You're saying, I don't want the result of having this.
Precisely. You're connecting the action to the consequence before you act.
Now, I don't want to make this sound like we have to be robots because we are going to mess up. We aren't Cato. And the source material pivots here to something really important. How to handle the reality of growth, which is messy.
It is messy, and if we try to be perfect, we'll just burn out.
There's a great line from Bruce Lee in our notes that offers so much grace here. He said, a goal is not always meant to be reached. It often serves simply as something to aim at.
I find that so relieving because I'm very goal-oriented. If I don't hit the target, I feel like I failed. That's the trap of perfectionism. But Bruce Lee is suggesting that the aiming is what matters. It's necessary realism. You have to accept that today won't be perfect, people are going to be annoying, traffic will be bad.
So we set the bar low.
Not low, but realistic.
Right.
We set the expectation on our effort, not the outcome. Ryan Holiday frames hard work not as suffering, but as an investment. He says, when we resist an urge, we are denying gratification to invest in myself.
It's banking energy for the future you.
Yes. And there's another layer to this, which comes from the author Daniel Coyle. He talks about the teaching paradox.
This is the idea that we learn best when we teach, right?
Correct. But Coyle takes it a step further. He says that admitting I don't know or struggling while you teach is actually a superpower.
Wait, really? Because usually I want to look like the expert.
Of course, that's the ego. But Coyle argues that when we struggle and admit it, we actually solidify our own understanding better than if we were perfect. And more importantly, it invites connection. Vulnerability moves us from performing to genuine learning.
So saying I don't know isn't a weakness.
It's an invitation. It signals safety to the people around you. It says, we are figuring this out together.
Which is the perfect segue to the next big theme, cooperation. Because I think a lot of people hear internal mastery and they think, okay, I need to go live in a cave and ignore everyone.
Right, the solitary monk approach. But the sources are very clear. True mastery leads us back to other people. And interestingly, they bring up Charles Darwin to prove it.
Yeah, this blew my mind. Because when we hear Darwin, we think survival of the fittest.
Cutthroat competition.
Right. Sharks eating sharks.
That is the popular misconception. But Darwin actually argued the opposite for humans. He wrote that the survival value of our species lies in social cooperation and our moral sense, specifically sympathy.
So we didn't survive because we were the strongest individuals. We survived because we were the best at helping each other.
Exactly. A lone human in the wild is a snack for a predator. A tribe of humans is the apex predator. Cooperation is literally our evolutionary superpower.
So if you're trying to do life alone, you're fighting your own biology.
You are. And one of the most grounding ways to tap into that connection, according to Tony Dungy, is gratitude. Specifically, gratitude for our roots.
He talks about the lost art of respecting parents and elders. And I want to pause here because I know for some listeners, family can be a very complicated topic.
It can be. And Dungy acknowledges that parents aren't perfect. But the perspective here isn't about blind obedience. It's about acknowledging that we stand on the shoulders of others. Someone provided for us when we couldn't provide for ourselves.
It goes back to that Joseph Heller concept of enough, doesn't it?
It does. When you stop and realize, hey, I was fed, I was clothed, I was taught language, you realize you have already received a massive inheritance. It shifts your focus from grasping for more to appreciating what provided for you.
It grounds you.
Yeah.
Even if your parents weren't perfect, honoring the life they gave you helps you.
Exactly. It frees you from resentment. Gratitude for your origins allows you to move forward. And that leads us to the highest level of this discussion. We've talked about discipline with Cato, cooperation with Darwin, but Marcus Aurelius and Seneca suggest there's one thing that beats them all.
Love.
Love. Seneca says that while the other virtues are great, love is the extraordinary thing that kindles the soul.
And this brings us full circle back to Jesse Norman's quote. We've talked about what you need for yourself, that's internal mastery, but love is the answer to what people need from you.
Beautifully put. There is this incredible quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu in the notes. All of our humanity is dependent upon recognizing the humanity in others.
That is heavy, but in a good way.
It's the synthesis of everything. Why do we do the internal work? Why practice self-control? Why learn to be content with enough? We don't do it just to be calm statues.
We do it so we are not consumed by our own needs.
Right. If I'm hungry, tired, and insecure, I can't really help you. I can barely help myself. But when I'm not constantly chasing status on the hedonic treadmill, I finally have the space to actually see you, to serve you.
So we master ourselves so we can serve others without resentment.
That's it. If you haven't done the internal work, your service will burn you out. But if you have that internal enough, like Joseph Heller, your service becomes an act of love. You give because you are full, not because you want something back.
That changes the goal from winning at life to being capable of love.
Which is a much better goal.
So we've covered a lot of ground, but I want to leave the listener with something they can use right now, today.
The sources offer a wonderful closing thought. It's the concept of the daily rebirth.
Technically, today is your birthday.
It sounds like a cheesy greeting card, but think about it. You are not the same person you were when you went to sleep. Your cells have regenerated. Your brain has processed memories. You are quite literally reborn every morning.
Which means yesterday's failures, the cheat day, the argument they don't own today.
They do not. You have a clean slate. There is a great line in the text, seemingly out of nowhere. It's a beautiful day for soccer.
It's a beautiful day for soccer. I love the randomness of that. What does that mean here?
It means the game is available to be played right now. The beauty isn't in some future where you're retired. It's right here, on the field, today. If you have the eyes to see it, the joy is available immediately.
So true balance isn't a destination. It's a daily practice.
A daily practice of internal mastery, fueled by gratitude and love.
I love that. Okay, before we sign off, I want to throw a question out there for everyone listening. Since we are technically reborn this morning with this clean slate, which specific struggle from yesterday are you going to choose to leave behind right now?
That is a powerful question to carry into the day. Don't carry the heavy baggage into the new game.
Exactly. Leave it in the locker room. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.